Broadcasting live from the Ash Barrens on the plane. Oh, what plane are they on?
Commander 2017.
Dominaria.
Sure, Dominaria. This is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome. Graham here with Cameron, as often, but joined also a rare drop. It's the Professor.
I'm rare. Awesome.
Well,
Very nice.
You haven't been on this show before?
Well, I thought I might have been just a common as a card.
Oh, no, certainly not.
Oh.
Or maybe you
But
could.
there's nothing wrong. But Graham, there's nothing
wrong.
wrong with common cards. In fact, many of them are quite powerful.
You could be a common legendary. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. Yes, I think that's me. I'm the common legendary.
There we are. Yes, because today, in a very special episode of Tap Tap Concede, we're going to be talking about Pauper. Pauper. People, we were talking about it on stream, and people were like, "No, you're saying it wrong. It's Pawper, not Popper. You're saying Pauper."
Were you saying pooper?
Well, no, it's the thing is, it's like,
a different
yes,
thing.
we pronounce those the same. Pauper. It's the same.
Yeah.
We don't pronounce our accents.
The prince and the
Pauper. Our accents do not allow for, like, we don't have an accent like a more like southern accent. Might be able to get more of a drawl on the pauper versus pauper, but no, we just, welcome to the Pacific Northwest. We say those the same. So yeah, Professor from Tolarian Community College is here, and as an advocate of the format, I think it's very safe to say that.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm not an expert of the format, and there's many talented people in the community that are experts in it. And the writings of Alex Ullman, for example, just going to the R-Pauper subreddit is, and I know some people are scared of Reddit, but at R-Pauper, they're the most welcoming, friendly, community-minded people.
Make very sure you're going to the right subreddit.
Yes, of course. And not R-Pooper, because boy, oh boy, it'll ask you to confirm
It's not the
your
one
age.
I was thinking of.
Yes.
The one, no.
But the Pauper subreddit is very, very friendly. And there's actually a great
subreddit he's thinking of.
Yes.
Cameron often visits r/popping.
Don't judge me. I find it very relaxing.
So today we're going to be discussing the format Pauper, Pauppr, which is a magic format.
No, Pauper.
I said PPR, didn't I?
Yeah,
You know why?
I'm sorry, English professor.
You know why? You know why I said PPR? Because PPR is the internal acronym we use for the pre-releases. So when I'm thinking of magic, and my brain short-circuited.
The double P, and then
Yeah, PPR. Anyway. So we're going to do all of that, but before we do that, we're going to do a crack-a-pack. And before we do that, we're going to remind you that Tap Tap Concede is brought to you by CardKingdom.com. If you check out CardKingdom.com/LRR on our podcast, anyway, because Prof is also a Card Kingdom.
Or whatever affiliate link you'd like to use at Card Kingdom.
Exactly.
I mean, you know.
Yeah. Bunch of good folks there at Card Kingdom. I mean, we've mentioned this before, but people often ask us, it's like, but I watch the Prof or Wedge or the Command Zone. I listen to all these. What am I supposed to, like, Magic the Amateuring? And we're like, none of us care. It's fine. Switch it up. Use different ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't, or use one, but let them know in the comments. Hey, I also listen to other people. It's totally cool. Don't stress about it.
Well, it's not like we get a cut from each sale.
No, but if you let them know, LoadingReadyRun sent me, button please, we'll give you a little 1-inch button, which I think by now, by the time you're hearing this, they're probably definitely out of the, looks like a real ham sandwich, which means that we would be on to, hang on, I have this written down. Right. Deck, please. The type is very small in the middle of the button. And it's please spelled PLS.
Yeah.
All lowercase. Just
deck, please.
Deck, please. When your deck doesn't do what you want. Also, the show is brought to you by you and your support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun, which supports not only the show, but everything else that we do. Prof, roll this giant die.
All right, here we go. Whoa.
Nope.
Nope.
Harlem Globetrotter, you are not.
No. Oh, almost a crit fail there.
Dodged
That's
it.
the Homelands, is it?
7. What do we got on number 7?
All right.
Lucky 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Ooh.
Hey, Gate Crash. This was given to us by Elliot at PAX South 2017. Thank you, Elliot. And this is a pack of Gate Crash, a format James and I broke once, which was hilarious. We were doing the wacky drafts for MTGO Academy, and we just forced 2-drops. It didn't, irrespective of color, we just took every single 2-drop we saw. And this was before leagues, so you were playing within a pod. So it meant that it was like, yeah, we were in 4 colors and our mana was terrible, but no one else had 2-drops. So we utterly destroyed it. It was really funny.
Yeah.
But not with this card, Scorch Walker. Scorch Walker is 3 in a red for a 5/1 elemental with Blood Rush, which was a weird thing where you could use a creature as a combat trick. So it's the Blood Rush is 1 red and discard Scorch Walker. So you're sort of casting it like a spell, but it's an ability, so it can't be countered, except with Stifle. I know, shut up. To give target attacking creature +5/+1 until end of turn. This card's not great.
Nope.
Nor in Pauper. This is the. I'm gonna use my memory right, but
cool.
Nor is this played in Pauper.
All right. What about Ley-Line Phantom? 4 and a blue for a 5/5 illusion, and whenever it deals combat damage, return it to its owner's hand. I mean, I guess if you really need a blocker that will kill something. Ugh.
This card is not played in Pauper.
All right.
All right. All right. That's good. That's good.
This was one of my favorite decks in this format, and easily first pickable common. Cameron, what's a first pickable common in this format?
Oh, geez. Well, there's the Jump Knight,
Yeah.
the 3/1 who gets flying when you have Battalion.
Daring Skyjack?
Skyjack. There's the guy that pings when you have Battalion. The Grenadier. Not the Grenadier, but something like that. There is the guy with Extort.
That's the one.
The Extort Bear.
The Syndic, Syndic, Syndic of Tithes. 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric with Extort, which is whenever you cast a spell, you may pay an Orzhov mana, which is to say you may pay white or black. And if you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life.
I like this how he's like being like,
thrall.
pick a hand. Pick a hand.
Go on, grab
left
it.
hand or right hand.
Grab a handful.
I don't think he's offering.
No.
Yeah.
He's saying,
Yeah,
pony up.
I love his little thrall holding his cloak. Is Syndic of Tides played in Pauper?
It is not.
Why? It's awesome.
Well, but as I will
know.
explain in a moment, you could, of course, build a deck around him.
True, exactly.
And lose.
Shattering Blow. 1 and a Boros, which is, of course, red or white. For an instant, exile target artifact. Interesting. I don't actually recall this getting played in the Gate Crash Limited, because
Boros killed you before artifacts became.
it needed to, before it needed to care about artifacts. Yeah. Oh, this one was very good in Dimir. Death Cult Rogue. 1 Dimir. So 1 blue, 1 black, 1 blue, black. Your pick for a 2/2 that can't be blocked except by other rogues, which didn't often come up. There was a number of rogues, but largely it was a 2/2 unblockable, which is nice. And a great place to put cards with Cipher, which was not a great mechanic, but hey.
It definitely occurred.
Yeah.
I always wound up having to throw this guy under 2/2 Boros Stews.
Yeah. Let's go out to the Sky Games. 1 and a blue for a land enchantment. And the enchanted land has tap. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. Oh, okay. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
Would this be better if you could do it at the speed of an instant? Would it suddenly be... Well, I mean, obviously be better, but would you, like, have this had seen more play back then?
No,
probably
still
not.
Would that have been enough to get it there?
But I do think being able
would
to
they attach
block,
that?
Being able to block a flyer would have made this more relevant, yeah. Slate Street Ruffian is 2 and a black for a 2/2 human warrior. Whenever Slate Street Ruffian is blocked, not killed, blocked, defending player discards a card. This is, the other one was unblockable. This is just sort of trying to disincentivize you from blocking it again, so you can try and get your Cipher stuff through. We have an Orzhov Guildgate, which enters tapped and taps for white or black.
I'm afraid those are not really played in Pauper because we have the gain lands.
Oh, yeah.
So why play a Guildgate when you can gain a gain?
The Simic mechanic, Evolve, and an enabler for it, if not a great card on its own, the Adaptive Snapjaw, 4 and a green for a 6/2 lizard beast with Evolve, which is whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So the Snapjaw worked on both halves because it had very small toughness. It often got bigger when you played other creatures because of its Evolve. But having 6 power, it was generally guaranteed to put a counter on other creatures with Evolve, and it still never got played.
There's a really cool Evolve rogue deck that's showed up from time to time in Pauper, but it's not using this specific card. No. But Cloudfin Raptor is what you start off with, and it's got a couple other Evolve creatures, but not this one.
Shamble Shark?
Shamble Shark, and it was like, I want to say Croconaw, but that's Pokemon. It's like a Croconaw.
Oh, no, there was one called
Croconaw.
I'm pretty sure
that's what Totodile evolves into. That's the wrong game.
Yeah, Croconura.
There you go. Now, this deck is not like tier 1, but there have been 5.0 lists from time to time of people who make it work. It's very cheap to put together, and one day maybe it'll get there.
All right.
I always want to say Croconaw.
Bomber Core. Is this one you were thinking of? Yeah. 1 and a red for a 1/2, so a Squire, but with Battalion, which is the Boros mechanic. Whenever Bomber Core and at least 2 other creatures attack, Bomber Core deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Sure. I guess if you do need a 2-drop. Oh, Cameron. Call of the Nightwing. 2 blue-black for a sorcery. Put a 1/1 blue-black horror creature token with flying onto the battlefield, and Cipher. And we've talked about Cipher a couple times. What that says is you cast the spell, then you exile it. The word is encoded onto a creature, but you sort of like...
It's a pseudo-aura.
Yeah, you intangibly attach it to a creature. And then whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to cast this spell again for free. But you got to get through first. But you could Cipher, then you could Cipher onto the horror, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's like an enchantment aura that then replicate. It's like put a token into play with a token of an enchantment aura on it, kind of.
It was a weirdo mechanic, and I would love to see them revisit it in a set where you didn't die on turn 4.
Yes, that was sort of the key, is that Dimir was the only slow guild in this format. And
it was a very, very fast format.
Incredibly fast. So, yeah.
So maybe this should have just been black and a blue, or is that too powerful?
No, that's too, like, this is well costed, it was just in the wrong set.
Yeah.
As an uncommon, I assume it doesn't see much play in Pauper.
No.
Okay.
In fact, I would like to say that if your opponent plays Call of the Nightwing and Pauper, you might want to call a judge.
I mean, there have been downshifts.
That is true, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Last couple uncommons, Illness in the Ranks.
Oh man, that art.
Single black mana for an enchantment. Creature tokens get -1/-1. Woof.
Those poor centaurs have dysentery. It's just like...
Don't ride a centaur across the Oregon Trail. Wasteland Viper is a single green mana for a 1/2 with Death Touch.
Yep.
Pretty good. It also has Blood Rush, which is to say if you pay a single green and discard it, target attacking creature gets +1/+2 and Death Touch. So pretty all right on both sides of it, actually.
I like that as a combat trick with a card like this, because it's low cost, though. You just need the 1 green. When it's like 3 or 4...
It's especially good for getting like a big wall out of the way.
Sure.
You know, then your creature doesn't die as well, so you're only trading the 1 green mana and this card to like Death Touch, their big thing. And our rare, we got an island and a soldier token, but our rare is the High Priest of Penance. White and a black for a 1/1 human cleric. Whenever it is dealt damage, you get to cast Vindicate. Whenever it's dealt damage, you may destroy target non-land permanent.
People thought that was going to be big, I recall, at the time. People thought, like, for standard and possibly other... this was the card everyone overreacted to because of the whole Vindicate thing. Yeah. And it was just, nope, didn't quite get there.
If it had 2 toughness, it would have been really abusable. But it's going to die to anything that damages it unless you buff it. So, still, I recall in Limited, it was like, oh, well, I guess I can't attack now. They've played the Priest of Penance, so...
Well, maybe if it were a, yeah.
So let's take this rare and these 3 uncommons out of here and just talk about, well, not these commons,
Not
but
those
talk
commons.
about commons in general.
Yes.
Because Pauper, which I'll spell correctly, P-A-U-P-E-R, as in the Prince and the Pauper, is a format played only with commons. But not every common. There is a ban list because they're not maniacs.
Right. Well,
It turns out even with commons,
pretty much, with exception, pretty much what's banned is Storm. So Pauper is the format where I like to say whatever type of deck, and if you go to the R-Pauper subreddit, there's a sticky thread, which is really cool, where the mods literally say, tell us the type of deck and the type of format you love to play, and we'll tell you the type of deck in Pauper that's really close to that, or decks that are really close to that, except Storm. So you can play what you like in Pauper except Storm. Sorry, Cam.
No, it's fine.
is that just because Storm is too good?
Yeah, and there's too many common Storm cards.
Right.
There, there's
Storm
a lot
exists-
of common Storm cards.
Storm exists at common, basically, with a couple of minor exceptions. Everything that is good against Storm or works against Storm is not.
Right.
Yeah. So
and when we say that it's played only with cards that are common, that is cards that have ever been printed at common.
right. So if a card was originally a common, even all the way back in Revised Edition or
Like, say,
Arabian
Fireball.
Nights, right? Or like say Counterspell or Fire Blast or any of those good ones. Fireball isn't really played in. But Fire Blast is.
Yeah.
And then later it's like, oh no, we reprinted it at uncommon. That doesn't matter as long as it had a common printing somewhere.
And on the other end, I know that Alex is running Mortician Beetle, which was originally a rare and was then downshifted to uncommon
Sure.
and then further downshifted to common.
And that's a fun thing about, like, especially with the Masters sets,
Yes.
is they do a lot of downshifts for the purpose of draft there, but that is where Pauper players are always looking towards.
Quick, brief aside: does Pauper? First of all, actually, who maintains those rules in the ban list?
Well, it's a bit of an iffy subject here because technically there is no paper Pauper ban list officially. What happened was Pauper was introduced a very long time ago in the early days of Magic Online and was extremely popular and popular. And there's been Magic Online maintained by Wizards of the Coast ban list, and it's still very popular. Like the Pauper leagues on MTGO are oftentimes rivaling the Modern League and sometimes bigger than the Legacy League even. And it's very popular and people have started playing it in paper, but there's no official paper ban list. And the reason this is a problem is that there are a lot of commons that were never printed on Magic Online.
Right.
So you go, oh wow, Sinkhole was a common, but we've never printed Sinkhole at common on Magic Online. So in the Magic Online leagues, you can't use a Sinkhole. And so sometimes people throw a Pauper event at their store and they just go what has been printed at common, and suddenly High Tide and Sinkhole are showing up as like, oh, that's fine. It's not on the ban list for online, but there's no ban list for paper. And since it's now being played at GPs, every GP now has Pauper events all days, and double up events on Sunday, and a lot of game stores are having a lot of success with it. And everyone's just using the online ban list, and that's what I recommend to anyone who in their play group at home or at their game store wants to start it up. Say, look, just go by the Magic Online legality list. You can use Scryfall to figure it out.
Yes, I was going to say Scryfall lets you search by Pauper legality, but that relates to what was supposed to be a brief aside, but that's my fault. No, that's my fault for
My fault for asking.
Because does Pauper, if it is based on Magic Online, I assume that it does it consider the Masters editions viable printings?
Yes, and that's where things can get a little confusing because there was an online-only Masters edition with many downshifts, and these weren't vintage Masters. And because
I'm not even talking about those. I'm talking about the old Magic Online Masters edition.
I don't know that those had
printed
downshifts.
They did 4, I think. They did. They were like an online.
Yeah.
They were sort of like a pre-modern Masters kind of Masters thing. They were only online, and it was like a way to get old weird cards into Magic Online.
I think that they kept the rarity in those days. But I'm not I wasn't around then.
Fair enough.
But with like Vintage Masters, where they downshifted Tangle, and in Paper Tangle was never downshifted, and so sometimes people are like, "Why are you playing Tangle?" See, there it is on screen at Common, but that was online only, and so sometimes people will be like, "You can't play Tangle." All the paper cards are uncommon, but the online card of Tangle was printed at Common.
So there's no actual consensus on that.
You can do what you want, and some places have had their own ban lists and their own legality lists, but like it really, the thing is that the format has been tested for over a decade on Magic Online. It's highly diverse. If you look at the meta, no one deck is more than 10% of the meta, which is a great sign.
Yeah.
And so then you suddenly say, well, let's use High Tide and Sinkhole and Mono Black Control and High Tide, which is the name of a deck, literally, if High Tide is legal. They get out of control. And they would be ones I would recommend for a ban if ever they were to just make all common cards, you know, like sync up the printings. I'd be like, ooh.
Now, if I can open the door for you to toot your own horn for a moment, why is Pauper seeing such support at GPs of late?
Well, people asked for it. And that's the thing, is that the players really like a lot about Pauper. And some people have disagreed with me on this, but I don't think it's just because it's affordable. It's not just, hey, let's play with cheap cards, but the gameplay is actually very much like Legacy Light, because you're playing with a lot of Legacy spells. In fact, Pauper Elves has a lot of what Legacy Elves has in it. Some of the most powerful elf cards are commons, and you put them together. They were never printed in Modern. Priest of Titania was never printed in Modern. Cards like that. And that's in Pauper Elves. It's very powerful. The Tron lands are common, and so people like that experience. When was the last time you guys were sitting down in Standard or even Modern and got to use true Counterspell, or Fire Blast, or the Mirrodin Artifact lands, which are legal as well?
Brainstorm.
So Brainstorm is another one. And so I think people really do like the gameplay, but also, yes, it helps that it's affordable. As popularity of it has gone up, some decks, not all, some decks have risen in price, but, it never rotates.
Just to explain my
You wanted me to boast about
No. Just to explain my lead-in to that is that people were asking for it at GPs, but they weren't necessarily being taken seriously until you, in a very friendly way, basically sort of badgered Channel Fireball a little bit.
I didn't think it was friendly. I'd had a few drinks that night, which is when I should not tweet, but I was just like...
They responded, and they were like, okay, sure, Prof, we'll, at the next GP, we'll have a Pauper event.
I think that they responded because I tweeted it out, I tagged both them and Star City Games, and the thing is that I still maintain, and I'm not just saying this, that it was the fact that at that moment, everybody was hitting favorite and retweet and replying, yeah, please do this.
Yeah.
And then they very quickly, and kudos to both of them, they were being dynamic, which companies should be, and they said, oh, wow, there's a lot of interest in this. And Channel Fireball was the first to be like, fine, we'll do Pauper Sunday events.
And that was
and the numbers were huge.
Yeah,
we set the world record at GP London.
Yeah, and that was like a week before GP London? Like, that was not far beforehand. And they went, all right, you know what? Fine, Pauper event. And how many? There was like 350 players?
Yeah. Actually, it was 320. But yeah. But still,
that's amazing.
We broke the software at that event. And with apologies to the Modern event that was going on simultaneously, which it broke their software as well. And they were quite irritated with us. They were quite large as well. I mean, the software is from 1980s or something like that. So it needs to be updated. Sorry, but yes, people. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think people miss playing with those old spells, and not everyone can afford Legacy. So it's a nice mix of that.
Well,
and it does let you play what you want, except Storm.
I assume this is going to come up on an episode of North 100 at some point. So I don't want to sort of steal any of their thunder. But the something that Alex has been working on locally recently with local Highlander player Chris Ireland, as well as a bunch of people in the office, is Pauper Highlander, for exactly the same reasons that there's a bunch of different cards that you get to play with when you're like, okay, rares and uncommons are off the table. What do you have left? oh, there's actually some really interesting cards
Oh,
here.
yeah.
And in fact, by the time you're seeing this, several weeks ago, we streamed a Pauper Highlander sort of mini tournament with Cameron, yourself, and Alex, and James and Ben.
Yes.
And it was super fun
success,
and interesting.
yeah.
And
Yeah, there were some really oddball cards that showed up. Some interesting lines of play, different deck building strategies than we're used to.
Yeah. So it's and again, it's not just for the cost accessibility, though I'm not going to say that.
I mean, that's
though I'm
important.
not saying that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
But it's definitely also that it's a fun, different challenge to get to play with these interesting cards.
I mean, you do get to play with powerful cards. Gush is here. Brainstorm is here.
yeah.
Also, cards that are really, really interesting and that might be pet cards, but just never quite make the cut. Right? Like, you don't get to play Condemn ever because Path to Exile exists.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So, you have to make some interesting decisions and take in a lot of cards that, it's a home for a lot of oddball cards that I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Cards like Tortured Existence.
Now that's a great deck.
What's the Tortured Existence deck?
Tortured.
This is a common,
is there a
Graham.
deck?
Read this card and be amazed at the fact that this is a common.
So Tortured Existence is a single black mana for an enchantment that says, for a single black, you discard a creature card, and then you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
So you got a lot of cards you dump in your graveyard.
Yeah.
And it's for people who played in Innistrad with Flashback know that you can make a very powerful little toolkit. And this isn't quite Flashback, but what you then end up doing is it's like, ooh, I want that Spore Frog that's in my graveyard, and I'm going to just basically toss to get it with the Tortured Existence, and you build up a really neat toolkit in that graveyard.
Well, also you can. Can't you can discard, what am I thinking of, Wild Mongrels or something,
Well, you could discard.
you can discard a creature with
like
madness.
Basking Root Walla, right? For
Yeah.
example, or Arrogant Worm,
Yeah.
right, and get a 4/4 for 3 mana
Right.
with trample
Yeah.
at instant speed.
You can do some nice. There's shenanigans to gain life with the brown scale. Oh, my brain is farting.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. There we go. And so here's one that you discard and you gain 2 life, but then you can get it back to your hand by discarding another one and you gain 2 life, and then you discard this one and gain 2 life, getting back the other one and gain 2 life. And it's not quite infinite because you're limited by 1 black for Tortured Existence, but basically as much black mana as you have available, you're paying 1 black for 2 life.
I gotta describe it. I've never seen this card before. 1 green. This is Golgari Brown Scale.
Yeah.
1 green for a 2/3 lizard. Whenever it is put into your hand from your graveyard,
Right.
you gain 2 life. Now it has Dredge 2. Dredge being the mechanic that instead of drawing a card for the turn, you can put that number, in this case 2, cards from the top of your deck into your library, and then pull this card back. So if you dredge it, you gain the 2 life. Or you can just use Tortured Existence. And loop it.
And loop
That's
it.
amazing.
I have to go and brew something now.
Yes. Are you familiar with One Land Spy, Cam? I think that one might be up here.
One Land Spy.
One Land Spy. It's a pauper deck that runs 1 land.
Okay.
And what it uses is the card, and again, my brain is farting on me. What is the term? It's a Balustrade Spy.
Balustrade.
It uses
Spy.
Balustrade Spy.
That's the spy?
That's the spy in One Land Spy.
So Balustrade Spy was a 3 and a black for a 2/3 vampire rogue with flying from Ravnica block. See, it could block Death Cult Rogue. When Balustrade Spy enters the battlefield, target player reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a land card, then puts those lands into his or her graveyard.
Right.
So do you target yourself?
You actually do,
Yep.
and basically you're going to put everything in your graveyard. But you'll then combo off and win.
I have a question.
Is how?
How do you cast
Is
Balustrade
Lotus
Spy?
Petal
Yes.
common?
Yes, indeed it is.
So you cast Balustrade Spy off Lotus Petal.
And a few others. Yes.
And then because you're only running the 1 land, it just drills through your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And puts a bunch of stuff in your bin.
Yeah.
And then you get to...
There's,
Balustrade Spy was a all-star in, well, not an all-star, but like big moving combo piece in Whoops All Spells, the Legacy deck.
Yes, this is like the light version of Whoops All Spells.
Yeah, the Diet Coke version that wins, because that deck wins with Angel of Glory's Rise and Laboratory Maniac.
Right. But those are both rare.
Yeah, no, it does not win with those.
How does this one win?
So let me tell you. I'm pulling up the deck list right now to tell you a few of the cards in it. Oh, it doesn't have it listed. Darn. I will pull up the other deck list of it. But yeah, the fact that you can even do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You definitely. I mean, there is definitely a preconception that a format of all commons would not be as powerful, and we definitely learned that how wrong that was ourselves when we played James's Pauper Cube, designed by Stibbs.
So you use cards like Tinderwall also to get mana for that. Wild Cantor is another one. That's a common.
What's
Wild Cantor?
So this is how you're gonna Simian Spirit Guide is a common. That's another way.
Simian Spirit Guide was common?
Yep.
Good lord. Okay.
You can use Dimir Houseguard to transmute for your Balustrade Spy.
So Wild Cantor is a 1/1 for a single Gruul mana, so either red or green.
You also
you can
use
sacrifice it to add. That's okay. You can sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool.
Right. You also use cards like Manamorphous, which is a common.
Yeah.
That one's getting a little expensive. Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual. Things like that.
Okay, so Manamorphose is 1 in a Gruul.
Right.
You add 2 mana in any combination to your mana pool, you draw a card. But okay,
so you want to know the win con.
Yeah, that's how you cast
Balustrade
Spy. But then what happens?
You put everything in your graveyard, Graham. You don't have any cards left in your library because you mulligan until you get your 1 land in 1 land Spy. And then you cast Haunting Misery.
What is... Okay, Beej about to tell me. 1 black for a sorcery. Remove X cards in your graveyard from the game. Haunting Misery deals X damage to target player.
I'm in.
You basically can theoretically win on turn 1 with 1 land Spy, or you're just waiting to set it up to get it. There are God hands where you can win turn 1 with this, and your opponent can't even drop a land. It is not a reliable deck. It is a deck you play for fun, to be a massive pain in the butt to your opponent. It will defeat itself so much of the time, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, without Serum Powder.
Right.
That's
it's
amazing.
Hilarious.
It's going to feel so bad to die to this.
Yes, it's so much fun.
This is the worst thing I've ever seen anyone do to someone else.
Right. And so this is what I mean about Paupers. You've got a lot of choices, a lot of options.
Before we went live, you mentioned a deck that I want to hear more about, which was Kuldotha Boros.
Kuldotha Boros.
Tell me this uses Kuldotha Rebirth?
It has in the past, but currently is not a big fan of it. There's better.
I love, by the way, I love that when in Magic the deck isn't running the thing the deck is named after.
Right. But this deck uses cards like Core Skyfisher.
Okay.
Which I love.
Yes.
This card is so
Core
sweet.
Skyfisher from original Zendikar was, 1/0 white for a 2/3 flying core soldier, and when it enters the battlefield, you must, not a may, you return a permanent you control to its owner's hand.
And
I forgot how to spell core.
C-O-R-E you were trying to spell? Yeah, it's K-O-R-E. It's fine.
And so you want to, and you use other cards like Glint Hawk. And the idea is that there's cards you want to bounce.
Yeah.
Like the Wellspring,
Ichor
Wellspring, and the Prism.
Right, Ichor Wellspring, the Phyrexian Plank.
Right.
Ichor Wellspring is a 2-mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. When it goes into the graveyard, you draw a card. That's it. It doesn't do anything.
Sure.
It just sits there.
But you draw a card, you cast the Core Fisher, bounce it back, cast it again, draw a card.
Yeah, it sits there and bees an artifact.
Right. And fun stuff like that.
It's a creep tumor from StarCraft.
Yeah, like
It also runs Dark Confidant in this deck. Now, what is Dark Confidant, Graham? And Cam just looked at the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Graham, what is Dark Confidant in Pauper? There is a Dark Confidant in Pauper.
Okay, I was going to say, I was like, wait, Dark Confidant is not common and has
We call
not,
him Pauper Bob. We
has
call
not-
this card Pauper Bob.
has not ever been print. Okay, what would the Pauper Bob be? Any card I can think of that has that sort of effect.
I had
Is
a
rare.
0% chance of thinking of what this card is.
Okay,
Palace Sentinels.
Palace.
Makes you the Monarch, and Monarch is like your... It's not quite.
Yeah.
Oh. 3 and a white for a 2/4 human soldier. When Palace Sentinels enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch.
Right.
Yep.
So the Monarch, this was a thing from Conspiracy 2, Watch the Throne, that it made you, the being the Monarch said that, for one thing, you got to draw a card on your end step.
Right.
So you were drawing 2 cards a turn.
Right.
And then if
So that's
someone,
like we get a Bob-like effect.
if someone dealt combat damage to the Monarch,
then
then
they get
then
it.
they
so
become the Monarch.
Don't
But-
let them hit you.
But you have a 2/4.
Yeah.
Right.
What's up, Peach?
Yeah, you actually mean take the crown, but you're being. I just want to make sure that everyone out there knows that Graham's being funny and that he knows what he's talking about.
Watch the Throne was the name of the Kanye
Kanye.
West Jay-Z collaboration album. It came out at around a similar time, and Conspiracy Take the Crown. I was like, Conspiracy 2, what's it called? It's
Blank the blank.
Watch the Throne. Well, because
Run the jewels.
yes, because they changed the name. Remember, they announced Conspiracy something the something. I can't remember what it was, and then they did the whole thing with Brago being assassinated, and then they changed the name
Right.
of the set. They
Yeah.
changed. They announced a different name.
I
for
wish
the
they had
set.
done that a few extra times. I
Yeah.
thought that they were going to. I thought that would have been really cool
That was
if
super
then
cool.
it was Marchese on the throne, and then they said a week later, she's been assassinated, now it's Leovold on the throne. A few weeks later, he's been assassinated, and it was called like Conspiracy, the Empty Throne or something.
Yeah.
And it's like
Well,
who's gonna,
if they do Conspiracy 3.
Yeah, I hope they do. I really like it.
We
But
haven't
yeah,
seen
you
the
get
cases
cool
since then.
conspiracy cards in Pauper like this. There's
that's hard to
another
swing
one
through.
I'm blanking on right now that also is a common that makes you Monarch that is run. But they sometimes they're calling this like Boros Monarch now because it's
The Knight of the Black Rose, or is that uncommon?
Knight of the Thorn, right? The Marchese Knight of the Black Thorn.
Thorn of the Black Rose.
Thorn of the. I think that's it.
Is that it?
Thorn of the Black Rose, I
Please
think,
help.
is the other is the other Pauper Bob. They're both Pauper Bob. Probably people are going to yell at me in the comments saying, "No, it's the black one that's Pauper Bob
Blacky
because
Roses,
it's the same price."
Thorny Thorns. Thorny McRosenstein.
Type Rose and Thorn and see what comes up.
That's Thorn of the Black Rose.
There we go. That's the other Pauper Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a 3 and a black for a 1/3 with Death Touch, which is just a great blocker anyway.
Yep.
And when it enters the battlefield, you
And it's a
become the Monarch.
common. And so
like
you've got
this.
those two choices. Becoming the Monarch is very powerful, especially in Pauper. Getting that extra card draw every
Yeah.
turn, and if you can hold on to it, but it's a nice effect. But
I mean,
yeah.
a 1/3 with Death Touch is a pretty darn good blocker as well. Like a 2/4 is going to block some stuff. A 1/3 is going to kill it.
Like
Yeah.
actively,
1/3 Death Touch is going to kill it.
actively dissuading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is, of course, not run on the Boros list.
No, I guess it
But I
wouldn't.
wanted to bring it up because just to demonstrate all the cool cards we have access to. And I do maintain Pauper as a brewer's paradise.
Sounds amazing.
There is, a metagame of tier 1 decks, and you can go to MTG Goldfish and see all the 10 decks that are winning consistently on MTGO and
Right.
pick one out. Or you can start brewing up stuff and maybe make, that impression yourself.
Well, I'm going to list you a couple of my favorite cards at common, and you can tell me if they're in a deck.
Oh, yes.
Or in if you know of a deck that
Yeah.
uses them. Cavern Harpy.
Yeah, yes,
Absolutely.
of course.
Oh, good.
Cavern Harpy is a blue-black for a 2/1 flyer. When it comes into play, return a blue or black creature you control to its owner's
Now,
hand.
not currently like tier 1 right
Okay,
now, but
but
it has
it
been in the
has
past,
in the
and
past.
the wheel goes round and round.
Okay. Because I really want to run my.
You can also pay 1 life to bounce your own Cavern Harpy. Sorry, Cam. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt
it's
there.
fine.
What I love to do with this card is like return Ninja of the Deep Hours. Return.
Which is run in Pauper.
Yeah, return. I don't know, Liliana Spectre. Does Liliana Spectre see any play, or are there better discard
Liliana
artifacts?
Spectre,
It's a
I
2/1 flyer, 1 black. When it enters the battlefield, opponents discard a card.
I'm pretty sure that this does see play.
Okay. I mean, I imagine what you actually want to be returning.
I think
are
you're
they-
actually kind of building a deck right now, Cam. That is a blue-black control deck that's run.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the
Sounds pretty cool.
they're also chittering rats.
Chittering rats are definitely run.
Chittering rat.
Chittering rats are run in black, mono-black control and blue-black control, and I hate them.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't like this art.
Yeah. No, the art is so bad. It's so bad. I hate them. I don't like.
He doesn't have paws. He's
Yeah,
got
just got-
knives for hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's.
But yes,
yeah.
Chittering Rats is actually and Chittering Rats is great because it works very well with Gary, who is of course run Grey
Right.
Merchant of Asphodel, is both mono black and even yeah.
Yeah. This is a hell of a payload. When Gary comes
Gary.
down and nugs you for 9. Right.
And that also goes really good with Kumbajai witches, which
yeah,
please
yeah.
spell that for Beige. I don't know how to spell it.
Cubajj.
It's not an English word.
There's an M in there too.
Oh yeah. CUO.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bombage.
That's nice with Gary as well.
Yep.
That thing is a murder against. You drop 2 of those, no one can get rid of them, and they're just destroying all your 1/1s, 2/2s.
I know the Cajafoglio art is very iconic, but there's art for this that only exists in Magic Online that I desperately want a paper printing of.
I
Me
never
too.
noticed this before. The White Witch has 6 fingers.
Yep,
Yeah. It's that art.
and they
like-
kept it on the new art too.
Oh,
That she has
amazing.
the 6 fingers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought that when they showed that, I was like, oh, it's going to be in Commander 2017 or Masters 25. Nope.
No. Oh, but sorry. Speaking of Masters 25, you know what is in Masters 25 and at Common? Speaking of chittering rats, Relentless Rats.
Now you can build a Relentless Rats deck in Pauper.
I
Filthy.
bet everyone's real happy about that.
Dark Writ into a Relentless
Yeah.
Rats. Very nice.
Relentless Rats, by the way, is 1 black for. They're 2/2s, right? They're 2/2s by themselves. Okay, so it's a 2/2 rats for 1 black. 2/2 for 3. Not amazing, but they get +1/+1 for every other Relentless Rats on the battlefield, and there's this static ability that just a deck can have any number of cards named Relentless Rats.
Scryfall currently does not have that as part of the Pauper rule set because maybe Masters 25 isn't entirely.
That's
It's
odd.
not out in paper yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it only came to Masters 25 only hit Magic Online at time of recording. Only hit
Yeah.
Magic Online a couple
yesterday,
days
the day
ago,
before,
like
yeah.
Wednesday midday, and that was pushed up.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise. So Scryfall is like not a
It's not an official.
It's a hobbyist site basically.
Yeah.
But that's why the card I put up is in uncommon.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. No,
That's fine.
That's fine.
We already talked a bit about Tortured Existence, so that's another card I'm really excited to see.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about Ninja of the Deep Powers, who I'm also excited about. Muldrifter, I understand, is just a powerhouse in Pauper.
I mean, it's a 2/2 flyer for 5, but you also draw 2 cards. That's nuts.
Well, and I mean, that goes really good. We've got Delver of Secrets, obviously one of the best commons ever. And guess what else is legal in Pauper? Ponder, Preordain,
Preordain.
Wait.
Yes.
So you can run Delver, Ponder, and Preordain?
and Spellstutter Sprite, and Fairy Miscreant, and Counterspell, and that's called Mono Blue Delver.
That deck sounds nuts.
Yeah. It is. It is for a while.
Wow.
For a while, it was before they banned Cloud of Fairies. It was one of the most dominant decks, and luckily Wizards woke to the fact that they needed to ban Cloud of Fairies, which was that is a non-storm card that was OP.
Remind me, I'm just waiting to...
Cloud of Fairies, 1 blue for a 1/1 flying fairy.
Untap 2 island. Untap 2 islands.
It was, it was
it's
one of
the
these
free
versus-
one.
yeah.
Yes. And also has cycling. Works well with Spellstutter Sprite as well. But there
bonus.
was also a combo deck with it where you would...
Familiars, right?
Familiar. Oh, I played against that in paper. It was right before the ban. It was so painful. The guy
Yeah.
just mopped the floor with us, and I'm so glad that they banned Cloud of Fairies.
Oh, and also, because all the Karoo lands that tap for 2 mana are legal in this format, so you could net mana off this.
Yes.
A while ago, I tried to pull together a aristocrat stack
No.
using the 1-drop outlet, the Ghoul. It's 1 black mana for a zombie. You sack things to it.
Nope.
Anyway, and I was running the gatekeeper.
Carrion feeder.
Carrion feeder,
Yes.
right? As
Right.
basically like your aggressive guy, and then things like doomed traveler.
Doomed Traveler, right. Anything that's 2 bodies for 1 card.
Yeah, basically this deck.
Yeah.
And my secret tech in it was I was running the red gatekeepers from Dragon's Maze.
Really?
Yeah, the ones that active treason something when they enter the
Yeah.
battlefield. If you control 2 or more gates. And let me tell you, there was some convolutions I had to go through in order to make that worth anything. Smelt Ward Gatekeepers.
Yeah.
3 and a red for a 2/4 when Smelt Ward Gatekeepers enter the battlefield. If you control 2 or more gates, gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. So this was my Pauper version of Zealous Conscripts.
So
I mean, hey, why
yeah,
not?
I mean, Aristocrats has had a moment in the sun in Pauper. It hasn't quite. It's kind of like I like Merfolk in other formats because it doesn't quite break through, and you kind of want to be the one to bring it there. Aristocrats hasn't quite ever broken through, but everyone it's just needs just the right new common to get there.
The other cards I was looking at including were the Zubera. From Kamigawa Block,
yeah.
which are these spirits that when they die, for each other Zubera that has died that turn, you get an effect. So the blue one, I believe, draws you a card. The red one does damage.
The white one gains life.
And the green one makes other dudes.
Oh yeah, when Dripping Tongue Zubera, so it's 1 and a green for a 1/2. When Dripping Tongue Zubera is put into a graveyard from play, put a 1/1 colorless spirit into play for each Zubera put into a graveyard from play this turn. When does that ability check?
When it resolves.
So
you can
if you have 4 Zubera in play,
Yep.
you can sack,
priority.
hold priority, sack all the Zubera holding priority to those triggers,
Yeah, it'll check and see 4 Zubera have died.
and then so you'll get 16 spirits.
Yes. Right. And like the other aristocrat card was Viscera Seer.
Oh yeah,
Which is fun for digging, and then I was also using, I forget what else. It wasn't a very good deck,
But like that's
to be fair.
I want to see this deck now.
It tried. It tried.
I like decks like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's the tier 2, tier 1.5 dream, and it's just you want to just crack it through.
This deck loved playing against the Tron, not Tron decks, the Voltron decks, the ones where it just suits up one creature.
Like Bogles.
Yeah.
Like with Slippery Bogle, which is legal, and Bogles
Unfortunately,
is a deck.
It didn't do so well against those because they're all hexproof.
Right.
But against the like white weenie decks that just want to suit up one
Oh,
guy
yeah.
with the enchantments that
Mono White Heroic.
mono white heroic. Oh, the Smelt Ward Gatekeepers just were like, yes, you. I want you to come over here, please.
Well, maybe, I mean, again, I haven't really looked into it, but there is a red-black sacrifice sub-theme in Masters 25, so maybe there's something else at common there for you.
I would really love it if there were, because the only other good aristocratic common I think is she's from Rise of the Eldrazi. She's a vampire. She gets +2/+2 till end of turn.
Blood Throne Vampire?
Blood Throne Vampire. That's
Right.
the one.
Well, there's another one of those. There's the,
that artwork.
the Phyrexian ghoul in Masters 25. But
Yeah.
that's just the sack outlet, not really the...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the aristocrat, but not the you want like a blood artist kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is Falkenrath Aristocrat. Or not Falkenrath Aristocrat.
Falkenrath Noble. Yes, is
Falkenrath Noble is a
Pauper
common.
legal.
Yep. No, Aristocrats has the framework there. It just needs the right oomph. It really does have the framework.
Okay, yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it
and
needs
put
the
your brewer's
correct-
cap on.
yeah.
I feel like there's a big community, go to our Pauper, of people trying to make Aristocrats work.
Yep.
Maybe in the next set.
Hissing Iguana is
Hissing Iguanar?
also, yes.
Which one's that? Oh, that's the, right.
3/1 does 1 damage
Yes.
when something dies.
Right.
Yeah. No, the framework's there.
All right.
framework is there.
Now I got to
All
build
right.
one of these things. Maybe not that deck because I'm
Yes.
already going to build it. I gotta figure something out.
There's
So, like-
Atog Fling, Graham.
Oh.
Atog Fling. The affinity lands are all legal, so all your lands are artifacts. You play all these artifacts along with cards like the blue one, Affinity for Islands.
Oh, Thoughtcast.
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 I was like doing the artwork. He's like, there we go.
Yeah.
Thoughtcast, and basically you just dig, and what you want is ATOG and Fling, and about 11 or 12 cards on the field, which you just go through it.
Exactly my kind of
And then
garbage.
ATOG eats all the artifacts, and then you fling it at their face. Or Team or Battle Rage if you want. You have
That's-
choices.
yeah.
I like flinging the ATOG at their
Perfect.
face.
Teamer Battle Rage must just be.
Why not
like,
both?
How many
Why not
times in
both?
Pauper do you just die to Teamer Battle Rage?
Depends on if is it Blitz. Yes, it is.
Okay,
Fair,
I'm
yeah.
on board. Well, that I think is going to do it for an introduction to the wonderful world of Pauper. Thank you, Prof, for joining us. Ooh, the triple handshake.
yeah. Wow.
So check out r/Pauper,
Yep.
Pauper.
Yeah, not two P's.
No, for
Even in Canada, not two P's.
no, or the ing for more information on that, and apparently, basically any GP. Check out the Pauper event. So
Daily Pauper event at the GP.
Yeah.
They did Pauper events at Turbotown, and then on Sunday, every Sunday at every GP now is the Pauper double prizes for the Sunday Pauper event.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
crowds.
I'm really glad that we finally got to talk. Like we've mentioned Pauper in the past, but we've never really gone super deep on it, and so I'm really pleased that you were able to be here to give us an introduction to Pauper.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Happy to. As a reminder, Tap Tap and Seed is brought to you by Card Kingdom at cardkingdom.com/LRR. They're great, and their customer service is amazing, and check them out. And of course, everything is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. So, until next time, I'm Graham for Cameron and the Professor, who you can check out, of course, at Tolarian Community College. Wait, what's the YouTube? Check them out on YouTube and Twitter. Thanks for watching.